because when I walked through those doors from day one, they accepted who I was, which in turn helped me to accept who I was as well. Hey guys, it's Hope. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is another Friday, another video. So here we are. I'm wearing my cozy fall sweater jacket vibes. It's very fluffy, like it feels like furry. It's so fun, and it also is furry because service dog. So I am very cozy and comfy, and I hope that you are all very cozy and comfy too, because it is almost the weekend, and that is very exciting. So today we're gonna do a story time. I'm gonna tell you about how the church helped me to accept my blindness, helped me to accept my disability. So let's just jump right in. So for a really long time, I had been kind of grieving my blindness. I didn't want it. I felt like that it was a burden on my family, my friends, my community. I just didn't want anything to do with my disability. I wanted to be healed, or I wanted it to be taken away, or, all of these things. And even I went as far as to not use my cane, to not use all of the resources that I had, like the magnification devices and stuff, correctly, because I wanted to be just like everybody else. So I want to say I was about 16 years old when I moved to a new church. I walk in the door, and first of all, we see someone that we know, and she comes up and talks to us. It's like, oh, great, it's good to see you guys here. So glad you could come. And that just felt really good in and of itself, because I think that at that time, there were a lot of people from our school and community going to that church. And then after the sermon was over, there was another high school student sitting in front of me, and she turned around and is like, oh, I've never met you before. And I'm like, oh, I'm Hope. She's like, yeah, I'm Angela. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Nice to meet you. She's like, have you been to our youth ministry before? And I'm like, no, this is my first time here. And she's like, oh, well, you should definitely come. Like, here's when it is, here's where it is. You should totally come. And so I was like, oh, I guess. And at this point, I wasn't really sure, because I had never really related well with people of my own age. It was harder for me because a lot of my peers just didn't understand the challenges that I had with being blind. And so I was like, I don't know if I should go or not. And my mom really encouraged me to go, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll go. So we pulled up to the parking lot. My mom dropped me off. I walk in the door, and Angela's sitting right there, and she's like, hey, good to see you. I've been praying all day that you would come. I'm so glad you could make it. So she starts walking me around and introducing me to everyone, gets me checked in on, the system, the kiosks, everything like that. And then after we do that, we go, we went to small groups, and then we got to go home. And it was so much fun. Their system was like game, and then worship, and then message, and then small group. And it was so much fun. And I met so many great people there. So after I went once, I had to go again. So I kept going back and really getting to know the people and everything. And I remember when a retreat came up, it was the fall retreat. It was only for girls. And so we were going on the retreat, and I was a little scared, because I'm always a little nervous when I go on a retreat or a camp or something, just because I don't want to get left behind. I want to make sure that I'm hanging out with people. I also don't want to get lost, and that can be really hard to do if people aren't necessarily watching out for me and making sure that I'm okay. But when I went on the retreat, everyone was paying attention and making sure that I was like staying with the group. Our group basically moved like a huddle. We just moved from place to place together. I got to go horseback riding. It was so much fun. And then at like lunch or something on the first day or the second day or whenever it was, a person from the main campus came up to me because we were all coming together as like the girls of this particular church. And so the main campus youth coordinator, whoever you want to call that person, she comes up to me and she says, hey, like, I've printed out all of the retreat notes and everything, and even the lyrics to the worship music, really, really big for you. And it was big enough for me to read, which is very much like a feat of its own, because I can't read comfortably unless it's either magnified on a screen or blown up to like 68 font size or something like that. So I get this like ream of paper that is so thick because it has all of the retreat notes and all of the lyrics to the songs. And so I just am speechless. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing that, you know, they would think of this, because I never really thought to talk to anyone about it. What I always ended up doing was whenever we would do worship, I would just like muddle my way through the words, and you know, that was that. But I got the actual lyrics, I could read along. It was so nice. And when we got back from that retreat, my youth pastor of my campus, we'll call him Sam. So Sam came up to me and was like, hey, you know, I saw that they did this for you for retreat. Would this be helpful for you if we did it for you like every night when we met for youth? We met weekly for youth. So it's like every week when we meet for youth, would it be helpful if we printed off the lyrics for you? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So for several weeks, they were printing off all of the songs for me, and I got to just follow along and worship. But that became a little hard because like worship was a very involved thing when I was in youth. We were clapping, we were dancing, we were like praising God with our body and mind and heart and soul and everything. And so I found it really hard to be like holding these papers and trying to like clap along and everything. So I was like, oh my goodness, this is so hard. And then winter retreat came along, and this was like in my spring semester of my sophomore year. So I joined youth in the fall semester of my sophomore year. So this has taken place over like a few months. So I come to spring retreat of my sophomore year, and we're getting ready to go to first session where we're going to meet up with all of the campuses and like worship in this huge auditorium together. And when we worship, typically what'll happen is like everybody moves down to right in front of the stage. We create this like mosh pit feel where we're all really close together and we're all just praising Jesus, and it's awesome. And so before that, Sam contacts my small group leader and is like, hey, we need your group to come down early because we have something for Hope. And so she's like, okay guys, like we gotta go. So we, you know, put down our stuff and everything, we get ready, and then we leave and we go to the sanctuary area where we're all gonna meet for worship and messages and stuff. And we go down, and Sam says, okay, we've got this front row saved for you and your small group. This is gonna be your spot for the rest of the retreat. And so we sit down and he goes, hey, Hope, come on up here. So I go up and he is like, this is for you. And he points to a computer. And basically it's like, it's a cart, and then there's a computer like on the second shelf of the cart, and a giant, I want to say like 20-foot monitor. I don't exactly know what it is. It's a big monitor, right? It's a big monitor, like a big monitor. And he gives me a remote control and says, this is how you're going to control the slides. Like, let me know if you can read it. And I'm standing there like just in shock, in awe. And I'm just like, oh my word. Like, no one has done anything this extravagant for me before. And I'm like clicking through and I'm like, yeah, I can read it. What they did was they took the PowerPoint, or they took the words and the lyrics, and they put it into a special PowerPoint just for me with the lyrics big enough for me to read. And I was able to worship with everyone else. And so whenever worship started at that retreat, they would like have us go down first, and then we as a small group would be able to stand by the monitor so that I could read the lyrics. And it was just a lot easier because I could like clap and do a whatever and still like read the lyrics and everything. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is just like a retreat thing. And then I come back to youth the next week and it's in like our campus space. And I'm like, what happened? And Sam's like, yeah, we bought that like as this campus, so it's ours. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so, yeah, so they bought that for me specifically. I truly do not know what has happened to it now since I graduated out like a while ago. But it just, for the first time like ever, I felt the love of God through this church and through how much they cared for me and wanted to make sure that I was taken care of. And like, I didn't even have to ask for anything. I didn't even have to say like, I can't read the lyrics or I can't like participate in worship as well. They just knew, and they were able to like find ways to accommodate for me. And I just felt like so seen and valued in that and so loved. And I think that's partially why I was able to accept my blindness to a more like fuller extent when I was going through that in high school. Like, my small group was so good. They were so understanding of my situation, and they wanted to support me and help me as I went on this healing journey. But they were also very good about challenging me and asking me the hard questions and helping me to understand like why God would create me this way. And just like through all of this, it just felt so amazing. And I just can't thank that particular church, that particular small group enough for loving me and accepting me and supporting me where I was, accommodating my disability to the best of their ability, which went above and beyond what I could have expected, and challenging me and helping me to see who God wanted me to be and how He created me, and that the way that He created me was so essential and valuable and useful. So that is how the church kind of helped me to see more of God's love and helped me to accept my disability and to accept who I was. Because when I walked through those doors from day one, they accepted who I was, which in turn helped me to accept who I was as well. Because no longer was I like trying to explain everything and trying to make sure that everyone felt comfortable. They were wanting to make sure that I felt comfortable. And it just was such a great moment and a great show of God's love and the greatness of, you know, who God created my group leaders to be, my whole group. And then also just how God called Sam and helped him to be that servant leader that he truly was. And that's the meaning of a youth pastor. And he really did show that in everything that he did with me and with the ministry and with my small group and everything. So Anyways, that's my story, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that whatever you're going through, whatever you're struggling through, that God would show you his love, that he would comfort you and run after you and help you to see who he is even more. And I hope that you all enjoyed this video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.